in a chill living room. Leather-bound chairs, aroma of cigars hangs thick in the air. I'm cigar making, the host with flair. Welcoming my guest, a legendary face with stories to spare.
I puff a minute, bringing tales untold. In the smoky haze, connections unfold with a puff of smoke. A bond is made, no time to waste. Let the memories cascade, making connections, sharing life's sweet grind. From childhood whispers to dreams intertwined, a conversation flows.
What's good, family? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's time for another Cigars and Conversations with a Puff a Minute. I'm your man, Cigar Mick. And today I'm sitting here with my man, Luan. Is it Pham?
Yeah, Luan Pham.
Luan Pham, all right, from Byrna, all right? And we're going to talk a little bit today about some personal protection, you know. But before we get into that, all right, and I always got to remind you guys at the top, man, make sure that you go in and subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? Whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or any of the other podcast platforms that you can find a Puff a Minute on, make sure that you subscribe so that each week you know when something new is coming up. But as we get into today's very, very special episode, at first, I'm going to ask Luan, brother, what are you smoking today?
One of my favorite sticks. It's the Placencia Hex.
Nice.
It's kind of like wherever you go, it's consistency. You grab one of these things, you light it up, and it kind of brings that flavor profile home. You know.
Nice.
So
nice.
I love this stick. I love the way it's pressed and just the flavor, the whole deal.
You can't really go wrong with Placencia, man.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I tell people all the time, that's one of the first families of cigar making right there, man. So really looking forward to seeing those guys this weekend at the Big Smoke right here in Las Vegas. So looking forward, man. Placencia, man, they right there on top, man. And me, myself, I'm going with a classic myself today, all right? So this is, a Monte Cristo from the Classic series. It's the Dominican, it's got that Dominican, binder and filler on it. Just covered up with a nice Connecticut shade wrapper, man. Nice medium body cigar, just for the morning time, just to get things going, man. Enjoying that with a little bit of coffee this morning. So.
I love it. Well, thanks for having me on. And
it's a pleasure.
What a treat to be smoking at 10 o'clock.
How about that, brother?
a.m.
This is how we do.
And I'm technically working.
What a better way to start the day, right?
So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And so it's cool to be here. And first of all, I must say,
yeah.
And the Yankees, had that one game. You think they're gonna pull it out?
Well, I had to represent, man. I had to represent. But see, this is what I tell people all the time, right? Because it's really kind of like I've been getting beat up by a lot of Dodger fans, right? Because it's like Dodgers, LA, LA, LA. So I tell them, I said, you know what? If the Dodgers win the series, I'm simply going to put on a Brooklyn hat.
There you go. There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I'm still going to be okay, right?
Yeah, I spent almost a decade in New York, so I feel you. But I grew up in LA, so
yeah.
I got to go back to the roots. So
exactly.
and a good friend of mine is an executive with the LA Dodgers organization, and
nice.
But it's just cool to see East Coast West Coast battle.
Yeah.
And then the heritage, the Brooklyn Dodgers and all that.
Exactly.
Those are the teams we want in the series.
That is, man. I mean, it's a fun series right now, and LA been doing their thing.
Yeah.
I got to say, they've been doing their thing. But I'm glad it didn't end last night,
Yeah.
Now, of course, everyone says, well, that's only because we want to finish it off in LA.
Yeah.
And that may be true. We'll see. But
hey, business-wise, both franchises wanted to go to Game 7.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right. And as a fan, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I want to see. But talk to me a little bit about Byrna Less-Letha. Is that the full name now, Byrna Less-Letha?
Yes. So, Byrna Less-Letha was created by a group of common sense gun owners. I'm a concealed carrier. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe everybody has the right to protect themselves.
Absolutely.
But also understand the fact that a lethal weapon is akin to the nuclear option, right?
Yes.
So you pull that trigger on a lethal weapon, your life will change forever.
Right.
And not for the better.
Right.
Let's say you end up taking a life. There's the PTSD of taking a life. There's the legal ramifications of what, a lot of people will get caught on is, overuse of force.
Exactly.
If that person that is attacking you, although they mean to do you harm, if they do not have the means to take your life and you pull out a firearm, you take theirs, you can count on spending the next decade or two in a cell.
Absolutely.
And third, according to the FBI, 99% of all altercations do not require a lethal response.
Yes.
And so we hear a lot about it on the news, right? And that's like 0.0001% of total population.
Yeah.
And so we do believe having the lethal option if, imminent threat is presented, but you have to have the less lethal option to start. And we say the first option of less lethal is your mouth. Hey, I don't want any trouble. Talk yourself out of it.
Sure.
Get away.
Okay.
And if you know that the attack is there, then deploy less lethal. And, what I'll do as the reveal is
Boom.
our product, which is the Byrna launcher. I'm going to keep it down away from you. This is an unloaded weapon, so we're safe.
Yeah.
But the Byrna launcher is the shape of a pistol.
Okay.
It is powered by CO2. So you put the CO2 inside this canister here. This chamber here.
Okay.
There's a cap that you unscrew, and then you load the CO2 in here, lock it down. Each magazine that we've designed has a hex key that allows you to unlock and lock this cap. Once it's locked and the ammo is loaded, this weapon can be stored indefinitely. So what makes it very unique is that we have a proprietary patent called pull pierce. So it just sits here, you pull the trigger, punctures the CO2, sends the first round at 200 miles an hour. Each CO2 can shoot 18 rounds.
Okay.
And so, unlike any other product in the CO2 space, once you insert the CO2 in any other weapon, it is automatically punctured. And then you probably have 10 to 12 hours before this thing leaks to zero.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense in a self-defense scenario where you don't know when you're going to get attacked.
Right, right.
And then when you do get attacked, if this thing's empty, you can't say time out.
Yeah.
Hold on, bud. I gotta load.
Canister.
So what makes the product very unique is we have different types of ammo. We have the kinetic rounds, which is essentially made of rock hard polymer. So this round can break side auto glass from 30 feet away.
Wow.
And if you're shot with it, it feels like you're being shot with a real gun. We've had police case studies or usage cases where the aggressor complained that they were being shot. They needed to be taken to the hospital because they were bleeding out.
Yeah.
And the police officer knows that they're not bleeding out. They're just being delivered immense pain that feels like they're bleeding out.
Wow. Okay.
This product, this launcher, has an effective range of 60 feet. So you can shoot and deter an aggressor from 60 feet away. We don't recommend that because, if you get put in a court of law, they're going to say, why didn't you run? Right? So we think the distance when it's all going to go down is probably 15 to 20 feet. And within 15 to 20 feet, this is devastating.
Wow.
So that delivers kind of your blunt impact pain deterrent. We have chemical rounds in the form of tear gas and pepper.
Okay.
So they're chemical powders that these rounds are 68 caliber. So it's the same size of, if folks are familiar with paintball, it's the same size of a paintball, but has much different effects. So pure powder, once it hits, it's going to create a 6-foot dispersion cloud, kind of like the puff of smoke that just came out of you.
6
right?
foot. Okay.
Like 6 feet.
Okay.
So anything within 6 feet will feel these effects. Lungs will feel like they're collapsing. Very hard to breathe because the chemical irritants attack the central nervous system.
Right, right.
And so regardless if the aggressor is on drugs or not, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like we've tried this with Navy SEALs. They could probably deal with the pain impact of the impact, but they're not able to withstand the chemical irritants shutting down their central nervous system.
Gotcha.
So breathing is very difficult. All areas of exposed skin will feel like you're on fire, raging fire. So if it hits, that powder is going to blow up at 6 feet, or it's going to go into their face, which causes their eyes to involuntarily close because it's so painful. Nose runs heavy mucus. So all of these bad symptoms are happening in unison for 30 to 40 minutes. So you introduce pain, you take away their ability to breathe normally.
Right.
They can't see. So when you take out those senses, they're no longer worried about you.
Gotcha.
Now they're worried about them. So there's a law enforcement philosophy that aggressors are like school bullies, right?
Mhm.
They smell the weak. They only want the weak because it's an easy target. They get out, they in and out very quickly. So they're gonna observe you, and then when they attack you, and you just like freeze in fear, that's what they want. But when you turn the tables,
Right.
then something goes off in their inside them psychologically.
Yeah.
And so like, wait, this is not supposed to happen.
Right. Right. Okay.
Whoa, what's going on here? Like
Yeah.
Mike Tyson says, right? You can come in the ring with a game plan until you get punched in the face.
Exactly.
Right? So if you fight back, then it flips the switch. But what we like to say, if you're prepared to defend, you're no longer operating in fear. Now you're just going to go to your training.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what makes this product very, very successful, because we have sold over 500,000 of these things.
Wow.
A lot to law enforcement, government agencies. Our clients include ATF, DA, Department of Homeland Security, hundreds and hundreds of police departments and private security firms. But the majority of our business are regular Joes like me and you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No background checks required.
Okay.
No permits required.
Really?
Yeah. So legal in all 50 states. So if someone orders on Byrna.com, Byrna.com, we can ship to their door.
Okay.
And what makes this very advantageous for our customers is that, unlike a firearm, you don't have that violent recoil.
Gotcha.
It stays still.
Yeah.
You don't need hearing protection. You pull this trigger, it just sounds like a pop,
Got you.
and it sends out around at 200 miles an hour with bad intentions.
Right. Right.
That being said, let's say you have an intruder in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your 16-year-old daughter, like mine, sneaking in from a party, like all 16-year-olds do these days, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hear her scream, "Dad, it's me." But, she's not going to like you for it,
Right.
but she lives.
Exactly.
Because you send that lethal round, and this tragic incidences happen every year.
True.
There was a story about a gentleman in Chicago, a few years back, a year and a half. His neighborhood started getting a lot of break-ins. He got freaked out. Go get a gun. So it's just him and his daughter.
Right. Right.
Puts the gun on his nightstand. 3 a.m. in the morning, boom, knock, knock. Oh, it's my turn to get robbed. Grabs the gun in his, haze of coming out of deep sleep. Sees a shadow in the living room. Pulls his weapon, fires it, boom. Turns on the light, just ended his daughter's life.
Oh my goodness.
So that will haunt him for the rest of his days.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what we look to do is de-escalate and then get out. And why I say this from a legal perspective is, let's just say that intruder is someone with bad intentions, right? And you're that father, so you verbally command these people to leave, because it's more than one person.
Yeah.
Get out of my house. And if they don't follow, you deploy Byrna. And then if you have a lethal firearm, transition to lethal. Because it's drop this, grab that. It takes seconds, right? It takes like 5 seconds or less to empty this 5-round magazine. And so let's say it ends up in a deadly shoot. You're gonna go before a judge and jury for sure, and in criminal and civil, right? So let's start with criminal. If you went through that process, this is what your lawyer will say on your behalf. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client, Mick, had intruders in his home. He verbally commanded them to leave. They did not comply. He then deployed Less-Lethal. It was never his intention to take a life. That's why he went out and bought a product like a Byrna. Unfortunately, upon deploying his Byrna, these people continued their attack. In fear of his life and those in the home, he had no choice but to resort to lethal force. And that's why we find ourselves here today. With that defense, we're pretty confident that you're going to be 1,000 times stronger than, hey, my client was intoxicated. He thought your house was his house. He was unarmed. He was looking for a sandwich in the kitchen. And your guy decided to play judge, jury, and executioner.
Sure, yeah.
No bueno, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's the difference. And what makes our ammunition very interesting is that, as I mentioned, 6-foot dispersion cloud, right? Let's just say that intruder is in the home. He's hiding behind a wall. shoot the back wall, shoot the ceiling, shoot the floor. All you're looking to do is having this shell break, and that powder, get that powder airborne. And then once they start breathing it in, you'll start hearing the coughing. It's lights out, and then you escape.
So everything you're saying, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right?
Yes.
But I got to play a little devil's advocate, right?
Sure.
So if you're in a public forum, right, and you have to deploy the, that cloud, right? What about other individuals who may be impacted?
That's a fair question.
Who are not part of this situation, right? You're still looking at maybe some civil litigation.
Okay, so I would say this. It's 1,000 times less severe than a bullet.
Oh, yeah.
So, like if a bullet, like we say, like that bullet's going to find something or someone. And if it finds something, a guy's windshield, you're liable for that windshield. If it finds someone, you're going to jail. And if that someone had nothing to do with that situation, even if they did. So
that's a great point.
The way I look at it is, like from an insurance perspective. Would you prefer to pay for a fender bender or a total collision? Right? Okay. So from that standpoint, I always would prefer a fender bender. Because like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm defending myself, and deal with it afterwards, right? But at the end of the day, we have to do what they call in golf, risk reward. Right? And then, or in this case, living and surviving or sitting in the hospital or worse. There are probably people out there thinking like, you pull that thing out, and the guy pulls out a real gun, you're done.
So I'm pretty sure that's probably what you guys get most, right? By way of obstacles.
Yes.
Or, people coming back and saying, well, what happens with the bad guys at the real thing?
AKA the trolls.
Right, yeah.
So I say that's a fair perspective. But what we say is this. That statement is technically true, but categorically false. And what I mean by that is the Byrna, like any weapon, has to be used in self-defense. You're never going to pull it out first.
Gotcha.
Because if you pull it out first in an aggressive manner, you are breaking the law. Because this is a weapon.
Right.
And so if that guy pulls out, if he wants my watch, he's not going to tell me, give me your watch, I'm going to beat you up. If he has a gun, he's going to pull his gun. So he's going to present that gun first.
Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a concealed carry guy, right? So I carry both. I have a sling bag, my Byrna's on my right side, and my SIG 365 is on my left.
Gotcha.
In a moment of fear or stress, I will automatically, instinctively pull with my right hand because I'm right hand. I'll grab this first. But if that guy's presenting a real gun, I have to make the quick determination that, is this guy going to kill me? Or is this guy just wants to rob me? If he wants to rob me, take it, man. Take the watch. That's whatever, right? But if he has that look in his face that he's going to take me out, and if let's say this is all I have, it's better than nothing.
Okay.
Right? And then two, I got to play the chances. Like, handguns are the most inaccurate firearms because it's short barrel and all that. So there's a good chance he'll miss. And even if I miss, if he's in with 6 feet of that shot, I'm going to take out his vision and all that. And then if I had to deploy lethal, in my training, I got trained by some badass guys in Bend, Oregon, in Central Oregon, former special forces and the whole deal. I was trained like I will only pull my weapon 5 to 7 feet from the target.
Okay.
Because the chances of me, the probability of me hitting that target is higher than shooting at someone at 20 feet away.
Agreed.
Because if that round finds someone, I don't want that on my conscience.
Makes sense.
So, and this person would have to prove imminent threat. So yes, a gun is more powerful than a Byrna. No device is the perfect solution. If you, I mean, we have SWAT guys that we hire to go train these government agencies and police departments. So they've taken people, and they kept on coming. You're like, the whole thing is it's a different scenario, but what is the likelihood? Here's where like the data comes into play, right? Are you going to have a tool lethal with you for 0.0001% of the time, or are you going to have less lethal that's 99.9% of the time? And if you can carry both, then complete that 100%, right?
Yeah, right.
So, what this product provides me as a person that's always concerned and aware of my surroundings, and you go to any city, you can find trouble or trouble can find you anywhere, right?
Right, exactly.
So be prepared. That's what we're saying. Be prepared to defend. When I pull this thing out in my home, outside in public, there's no fear. There's not that phenomenon that we call trigger hesitancy.
Gotcha.
Because when you pull out a lethal weapon, I know for me for sure, I can only speak for myself and my thought processes, is that, oh my gosh, this is bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow some guy's head off in my house.
Right.
I really want to do that because if one day I sell my house, that's gonna be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to kill anyone.
Right.
And then what if it's a friendly?
Exactly.
And then do I have 150 grand for legal defense?
Yeah.
And then any third-rate lawyer, especially here in Las Vegas, you see all these billboards. Once they do some due diligence and they go, hey, Mick's got a nice collection of baseball cards that we want, or a couple cars and a cigar collection, they're going to sink their teeth into you so quick, you're not going to know what happened. So, that's why we say one bullet can ruin 2 lives. And if I have to pay for an auto accident, I'd rather pay for a fender bender.
Yeah.
Because if if it's an overuse of force on lethal, you may take a life, but they're gonna bury you alive.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so that's not something that you want. So that's why we say, look, common sense, let common sense prevail.
Okay.
Protect yourself. We had an incident here. I want to say 9 months ago. My wife. We live in Summerlin. She's driving our son to school, and she's right down there by downtown Summerlin.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a 3-lane road, as you know. Some guy cuts her off from the right.
Yeah.
Like from the left lane, she's in the middle lane. She honks. These people stop their car in the middle of traffic at 8 a.m., both doors wide open. They get out of the car, male, female. They proceed to the driver's side of my wife's car.
Really?
Unfortunately, my wife had her window half rolled down.
Mm-hmm.
The woman threw a punch inside the car.
Did she?
Landed, but my wife was very, ducking it. She pulling her head back. It landed was a push instead of a direct strike.
Yes.
As she was doing, she was trained to grab her Byrna, and when she pulled it, they saw it. They hightailed it out of there.
Really? Okay.
But this is 8 a.m.
Wow.
in downtown Summerlin. Like this.
Of all places.
You know what I'm saying? So
No place safe.
yeah, it can happen anywhere. And so
crazy.
That's the thing is what's unique about the way we teach our customers is, as I mentioned, we have the chemical irritant rounds.
Yes.
And then we have the kinetic rounds.
Yeah.
So let's say you're in a car and some guy's banging you, wants to carjack, whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you deploy that chem round in the car while you're in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
you're going to get that exposure. You don't want that.
It too, yeah.
So we load the magazines. We advise loading the magazine. Top 2 kinetic, the hard rounds,
Okay.
the rock hard rounds, and the bottom 3 chemical irritants. Because then you can drop the guy back,
Okay.
and then if he's still coming at you, then you can deploy chemical rounds, and then he's done.
Got you.
So that's the whole thing. Again, you're just de-escalating a threat. And the most important thing from a legal perspective with the Byrna is, with a real gun, again, if I pull my real gun, my lethal firearm against an aggressor, get away, I am required by law to call it in.
Got you.
Right? And when you call and report it to the police, that officer is going to ask you a series of questions.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to ascertain that, was I presented with imminent threat?
Yeah.
Was someone going to take my life with this thing, right?
Exactly.
And if I am not able to convince him that there was imminent threat, he's going to politely ask me to go down to the station, fill out an official report, and while I'm down there, when I get there, he's going to fine me for reckless use of a firearm. Some people might call it brandishing, but that's not really a term.
Yeah.
Reckless use of the firearm, because the police do not want you, even you have the right to conceal carry, to whip out your gun for any instance, right?
Right. Exactly.
Because accidental fire.
Yeah.
Right? And then you might kill someone.
Exactly.
And so he's going to fine me for that. He's going to take away my CCW, and he's going to probably give me a court date and then probably take my weapon.
Got you.
Right? So with the Byrna, you don't have to prove imminent threat. You still have to call it in and you pull it.
Okay.
And so, because you can tell them that I was presented with a threat, I responded to a less lethal threat with a less lethal response.
Yes.
So that's all fair and game in the eyes of federal law.
Got you.
And what makes this the Byrna platform very advantageous versus a firearm is the fact that you can travel across all 50 states with this.
That was the question I was about to ask you. Okay. So
Yeah.
you travel across all 50 states with your Byrna. In your vehicle, I guess you travel like via airplane the same way you would with the...
Yeah, so in your vehicle, like we're very popular with RVers,
Okay.
commercial truck drivers.
Yes.
Because like you can't have there's no such thing as a concealed carry permit for all 50 states.
No, exactly.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And then on an airplane, as you mentioned, check luggage, no need to declare a weapon because this is not a gun.
You don't have to declare it.
Yeah, so we affectionately call it the ungun.
Really?
Right? Because there's no powder.
So it doesn't need to be locked down?
Nope. Not because we travel all over the country,
Really?
you know, demoing our product.
Yeah.
And as long as the magazine's out, each kit that we provide comes with a card.
Okay.
So this card there's a wallet cutout over here, that you can put in, you know, your wallet. I kind of leave it like that for TSA to look at.
Sure.
And it says TSA approved, you know, less lethal, legal in all 50 states, the whole thing.
Really?
And we have, you know, traveled the entire country, never been confiscated, we sometimes get a little card and like your luggage was checked. Sometimes they take the CO2.
Okay.
Because they don't like CO2, but
yeah.
It's totally legal. But there are some cities that prohibit the use of Byrna, like New York City, San Francisco.
Okay.
Just because they're very dense populations, they have like, you know, mass transit subways. They don't want people deploying chemical rounds.
Got you.
You know, but
yeah.
we do very well. This stat will surprise you. The top 4 selling states, and this year we're going to do plus $80 million in revenue projected.
Wow. Okay.
Last year we did 42, right? So like people are starting to recognize like, wow, this is a solution. We get a lot. Like I think from you said, like, why haven't I heard of Byrna?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately we've been classified as in the firearms category. So we had this big deal last year where all the social media, you know, platforms banned us because, you know, it just got very political. And then we pivoted it to radio and podcasts and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And people started to really support the platform. And, you know, the beauty of what we bring to the table is that our mission is to reduce death by firearm.
Love it. Yeah.
And if there's 100 million gun owners out there, if we can convince them 10%, I'll take 10%, to reach for a Byrna first, how many lives do you think you get saved?
Millions.
Yeah.
Millions.
And then on top of that, like not only in saving the life of the aggressor, because that aggressor may have family.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I also have family. So if it's an overuse of force and I'm sitting in a cell, my family's destroyed. I'm a single income family, and if the breadwinner is not able to earn, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm done. And so, and my
like
family's done.
Yeah, like most of us, I should say.
Yeah, so that's why we say, like, it's so important, like, look, let's be real. The world's not getting any safer. It's more getting more violent by the second. I think we could all agree to the stats. Just be prepared to defend for yourself, because, like, what's the most 3 primal things that humans worry about? Shelter, food, right? Safety.
And safety.
And sometimes safety and food, you know, interchange. And I was recently interviewed on the Steve Harvey show.
Okay.
And by nephew Tommy.
Okay.
And he's a gun guy.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of going back and forth like you and I are, and he's like, man, I didn't realize that I had such a gap in between my strategy of self-defense. I just wanted a gun.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but it's like just having a sledgehammer in your toolbox, Tommy.
Well, let me say this too, because I am a CCW as well.
Yeah.
Right. And in my thought process, you know, I'm one of those people who went out and got like the prepaid, like the legal, right?
Yeah.
Not the prepaid legal, but the lawyer you know, for specifically for those who carry concealed, right? For that reason. But at the same token, you know, you're still gonna, like you said, you still got to deal with all of that, right? At
Yeah.
the end of the day, just because you have an attorney, you know, on retainer to help you in these types of situations doesn't mean that it's gonna end well.
Yeah. So you know,
You know,
I think you're referring to groups like the USCCA,
That's
fine
it.
organization.
Yes, exactly right.
I've been a member of the USCCA for 7
wasn't
years.
gonna say it, but yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like, so
exactly.
it's essentially gun insurance, right?
Exactly, it's gun insurance. Yeah.
And so, but you have to understand, it's only gun insurance when you are in a situation of true self-defense.
Exactly.
When you are considered like, it's an overuse of force, like all bets are off.
Exactly right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we met with them, and the same thing is like, hey, if you have USCC, as you know, you can defend yourself with a baseball bat, and they'll still, you know, cover you.
Right.
And that's the whole thing with us is like, this is better than a baseball bat, 60 feet effective range, formidable stopping power. And you can go on our YouTube page at Byrna Nation and watch all the videos of all these guys that are macho men.
Yeah.
Take the shot, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is insane." And so, and then, you know, all we want to do at the end of the day is go out, earn, take care of our families, go home and be safe, live a great life in what is for sure the best country in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you three stories that made national news that are just horrible to hear. Kid rings the wrong doorbell, gets shot by the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Gal rolls up the wrong driveway, gets shot and killed by the homeowner.
Yep.
There's a cat in Southern California. He sees on his like Ring security camera someone cutting out his catalytic converter, you know, in his driveway. I mean, if you do anything to my car, it's like kicking my dog.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So he grabs a knife, goes out there with the intention to scare this guy away, this thief away, ends up stabbing him to death.
Mm.
And the sad thing about these three stories is that these were three Americans minding their own business in the sanctity of their homes behind locked doors.
Yeah.
And when danger or perceived danger presented itself, they reached for the wrong weapon.
Gotcha.
And now they're facing major legal issues, incarceration, assets removed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would have put that Byrna in their hands instead of the guns and the knife, sorry kid, you ring the wrong doorbell, this is private property, you freaked me out, I know it hurts, you're going to live. Same with the gal. And then that guy scares that thief, you know, and he's coughing and running away.
And you don't steal no more catalytic converter.
Yeah.
I mean,
no news at 11, bro.
You present, like, you know, an undeniable case for Byrna, right? So let me ask you this. You're here, the company's here in Las Vegas, you're shipping all over the United States. How does somebody, say, in, you know, Connecticut, Maryland, somebody who orders this online, it's delivered, you know, within a week's time or whenever they receive it, how do they get some training on it, right? Rather than just ended up having, you know, this new self-defense.
It's a great question.
You know, this self-defense weapon, or, you know, I don't even like to use the word weapon a lot of times, but, you know, to have this in their home, how do they get training on it? So that, because even the Byrna could be misused, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what makes the Byrna the platform so great is that you can train in the convenience of your backyard. Totally legal.
Okay.
And we, as an organization, have created hundreds and hundreds of training videos. As I said, go to YouTube at Byrna Nation. You go to our Instagram at Byrna Nation.
Okay.
And there's a myriad of tips on how to deploy. And it's very simple, right? Not scary. We get a lot of folks. We have a store here in Las Vegas, and we're opening 5 stores. One in Salem, New Hampshire, one in Scottsdale, Arizona, so hopefully one in Pasadena, California, and then Nashville, Tennessee. And so our goal is to get people to train as often as they can. They can train in their home, or they can train at one of our facilities, but training is critical. And a guy like me, I travel a lot for work, So, my wife trains. My wife also trains lethal, but doesn't train enough where I feel comfortable
Sure.
with her using, any one of her lethal weapons. And then I have my 16-year-old daughter. So to train her, I got to trick her. So I say, like I always say, like, this is a 2-for-1, right?
Sure.
Great defensive weapon, but also so much fun during backyard barbecues.
There you go.
Right? So I put up targets, and I tell my daughter, hey, okay, $5 for every target you hit.
Is that right? Okay.
And then, but like, okay, I end up paying a little bit, but she's familiar with the weapon, and when I'm gone, she can help defend the home.
Nice.
And we get a lot of customers to come in that are like want to be gun owners,
Yeah.
but restricted by wife.
Gotcha.
And so we hear countless of guys like, I don't want to be wrestling
I know a few
these guys
people like that. Yeah.
But my wife will say, over my dead body, you're bringing a gun in the house.
Okay.
They come in, they shoot, they hear the target, the round hit the metal, target. They look over and they have that aha moment, like, oh my gosh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and this is not scary.
Mm.
It's that, and then we also say, like, the Byrna is sometimes the gateway drug to a firearm, because once they learn, like, all the the right ways to be responsible with a weapon, they're like, okay, I can graduate now.
Any other calibers? Like, is there a 12 gauge Byrna, in the future?
So we do have a 12 gauge shotgun round.
Do you really?
Yes, that is compatible with any 12 gauge pump action shotgun.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So what's crazy about this?
Wow.
We brought that same technology
Uh-huh.
of no recoil to one of the most violent weapons on the planet,
Wow.
the 12 gauge shotgun.
Okay.
So you insert it, you pull the trigger, and people are bracing for the recoil.
Uh-huh.
There's no recoil, and it shoots out this. It looks like a bomb, and it's a kinetic round that has an effective range of 75 feet. And next time you're at my store here in Vegas, I'll show you the metal door that we dinged up from 70 feet away.
Really?
And we've had we had this hockey player in Oregon, big shot guy. I've been shot before. I'll shoot this, and we're $200 a shot. I'm like, really?
Wow.
And at the time, I had 2 of my snipers with me.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, well, sign this waiver.
Okay.
We'll give you $200 a shot. He's like, this is the easiest $1,000 I've ever made. I'm like, all right. So we knew it was 75 feet, but we pulled our guy back 100.
Okay.
This guy was he's probably like 6'2", 250, burly guy wearing a thick sweat hoodie.
Yeah.
Sends the first round. Boom. The guy hits him in the top of the rib cage. He's like, oh. And as he was doing this, since he was talking so much, our sniper had that grin on his face.
Uh-huh.
Sent the second round. Bam! And he goes, stop! No more! No more.
That's it.
And his whole side went black and blue.
Ooh.
We didn't hear from that cat for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to pay him the $400, right?
Right.
And it's like, man, that's gnarly. And so as you know, there's SHOT Show here every year.
Uh-huh.
Last year, we took the rounds and all of our platform to range at SHOT Show.
Okay.
And we got tested by all types of law enforcement. At the end of the show, in a lethal show, Byrna, the 12 gauge platform, was recognized as one of the top 3 innovations of the show.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Again, no trigger hesitancy, but here's the whole thing about shotguns and home defense. It's the most popular home defense weapon because
Exactly.
you could be coming out of deep sleep and you just point down the hall and it takes everything out in its wake.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you in the movies is that once you shoot that round in a closed quarter environment like your home,
Mm-hmm.
you've instantly lost your hearing. Because you're not going to come out of your house, in your bedroom,
Yeah.
with ear protection because
Yeah.
you need to hear what's going on.
Exactly.
And know that statistics state that home invasions, there's always more than one guy.
Yeah.
It's 2 or more, right?
Yeah.
It's never one guy,
Right.
rarely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose your hearing, you now can't hear what your family's screaming about or who else is running around the house.
Yeah.
So in my home, I have a Celtic KSG shotgun.
Okay.
2 chambers.
Okay.
Left side, 7 rounds of Byrna Less-Letha. Right side is Stairway to Heaven.
Gotcha.
And then I would have to physically switch to lethal so that I go boom, 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 right? Without any concern with less lethal. And then I've now proven my continuum of force, right? Get out of my house, deploy less lethal,
Got you.
and then go to lethal.
Got you.
And then
But you couldn't
Yeah.
put the less lethal in the same magazine as the.
you technically can with like a regular
you can go
shotgun,
You can go like
stack load.
stack load.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't recommend that because when it's going down, when adrenaline is high,
Yeah.
most people aren't counting. So they're like, boom, boom, like how many I shot? Is the next one lethal? Is it not?
Right.
So, you have to be very disciplined. So, if you don't have that, we would recommend go the safest route. Have one shotgun painted in bright orange.
Mm.
So you're grabbing that, you're grabbing less lethal. And then have the other shotgun, with lethal you have to. But
Got you. Yeah.
that's why instead of having two shotguns, I just have one.
Yeah.
Well, that gives me that, like, no different than if I'm reaching for my left instead of my right, as I mentioned. That's an awkward pull. Then it tells my brain that now I'm going to the nuclear option.
Yeah.
Right?
Now it's getting real.
But you think about, like,
I love it. Yeah.
how crazy the nuclear option is. So we know there's a war in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we know that Putin has a ton of nukes.
Mm-hmm.
Has he fired any nukes yet?
No.
No, because he knows that's going to wipe him out.
Exactly.
And so no one wants that. There's the same mentality that us as citizens and also law enforcement to say, like, I don't want the nuclear option. I was in Tijuana last week, and I met with the police chief. They started integrating Byrnas.
Yeah.
And so I know it's probably arguably one of the most dangerous cities on the planet, right?
Okay.
They have an average of 130 homicides a month.
Okay. Yeah.
And they have lethal, and their less lethal is grab a stick, a trash can, throw it, whatever you can.
Yeah.
So now they're starting to implement Byrna, and in the past, like they're like, you take the cartels off to the side. They're not interested in like the common everyday criminals, right? The bad guys,
Sure.
the street thugs. Those instances are much higher than the gnarly stuff, right?
Yeah.
So those guys are also very aware of the law. You ain't gonna shoot me. You shoot me, you're ruined too.
Gotcha.
So then, so they're very brazen. When they started using the Byrna and they started shooting, we had actually some video cases that they shared with us. Now we're on the street like, these guys are shooting. You better mind your P's and Q's.
Got you.
So like, I like what they say in Texas. Gun society is a polite society. And speaking of Texas, like, we sold 500,000 of these things already. The top in the country.
Okay.
The top selling states: California, sheer size. Laws are all jacked up. Hard to get a gun.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Number 2 is close second is Texas.
Really?
Where the gun laws are very liberal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Castle Doctrine and all that, right?
In Texas.
And the third best-selling state is Texas's kissing cousin, Florida.
Is that right? Wow.
Because people with common sense understand. Like, you hear that, that saying, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried out by 6. But dude, that carry judged by 12, they're gonna bury you alive.
Yeah.
And so if you follow what we are always, stressing is, make sure you go through the proper continuum of force, use of force, because that's going to be the best defense that you have in court.
I love it, man. I love it, man. Absolutely one of the best, presentations for non-lethal force that I've ever, seen and experienced. You got me definitely, intrigued about Byrna, Less-Lethal, man. I'm looking forward. This weekend, you're gonna have you bringing.
Yeah, we have an activation trailer. We're gonna come out here.
Tapping ass for the Big Smoke event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you're in Las Vegas, if you're here for Big Smoke, make sure you get over here to Tapping Ass. You can come over here and try this out for yourself, and experience it for yourself, man. We look forward to seeing you for that, man. I really appreciate you coming and spending time with us, man.
My pleasure.
A puff a minute for this Cigars and Conversations today. This has been outstanding. Tell the people a little bit more about how they can either find your product or order your product, or just really
visit
visit you guys.
Yeah, visit Byrna Byrna.com. And
Well, again, thanks for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
man. I really appreciate it, guys. There you have it. Byrna Less-Letha. Make sure you guys go check them out, man. Like I said, if you're here in Las Vegas, come by us and check us out on Saturday. Come on and test it. Try it for yourself. Get that 10% discount. Byrna 10?
yes, sir.
Byrna 10, guys, all right? Again, it's been your man, Cigar Maker. It's been another Cigars and Conversation. Make sure you go back again. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the podcasts are Puff Minute on all things. And we'll join you again next week for some more content. Until then, make sure you guys enjoy it, love each other, and we'll see you again next week. Y'all, peace and love. We out of here.